Bonjour. Today we have a fella from France on our agenda. So, in advance, I want to excuse myself for any names I will definitely mispronounce. As beautiful as the French language may sound, it's hella complex to reproduce. Kind of like a Dream Theater song. Nah, learning French is probably still easier than understanding one of those. However, let's have a look at a different band right now. Celtic Frost has been around for quite some time, and it's out of the question that they have influenced the European metal landscape with their mixture of black and thrash tunes, a style often described as avant-garde. Their lyrics often revolve around occult, dark, and sometimes historical subjects, an eerie preference they have stayed true to ever since the first release of Morbid Tales in 1984. As far as real-life situations go, they don't come more eerie than the model of said release's first track, Gilles de Rays. This guy is often regarded as the world's first recorded serial killer, who wouldn't even stop at brutally murdering children for his sinister rites. Interested? Well, I made this video, so I won't judge. Unlike the song, I chose to start with the good stuff. It might be hard to believe, but before Gilles de Rays turned into a cruel wannabe sorcerer, his curriculum vitae was quite the shining one. Celtic Frost won't keep that a secret and mentions these facts in the fourth verse of the song. In doing so, they also hint at what time we have to look at: the late Middle Ages. After his birth around 1405, Gilles de Rays, an heir to the noble French family of Montmorency-Laval, put up a stellar career in the military. After he proved himself in some battles against the English in the 100 Years' War, de Rays was selected to accompany the legendary Joan of Arc to Orléans, where they helped the French to finally break a 7-month siege of the city. After the victory, de Rays was charged with the protection of Joan of Arc, and remained by her side for the battles of Jargon and Partay. When French King Charles VII was crowned, he promoted de Rays to the rank of a Marshal of France on the same day, and later allowed him to seam his coat of arms with the French lilies, showing a special connection to the king. The song mentions all these accomplishments that can be seen as something great, I guess, if you go with the 15th century vibe and think of bloody battles and warmongering in general as something cool. From there, it all went downhill, unarguably. Jean d'Arc was burned in public, and de Rays returned to his estate in Nain in 1431. His involvement in the war had cost him a lot of money, and his suite of knights and advisors wasn't cheap either, so pretty soon he was close to broke. After selling all his castles and other properties was forbidden to him by his family via the king, there remained only one logical thing to do: summoning a demon to take care of your problems. De Rays wanted to conduct a contract with the supernatural evil, which is probably not a good idea to begin with, but still pretty metal, I gotta admit that. In 1438, he sent out an accomplice to seek out experts in alchemy and dark sorcery. Like the song says, wizards and darkness were his dreams. Well, you can guess which half of that came true. I think for the next part, a short trigger warning is in order. Yes, my videos usually do have a little bit of fighting and violence in them, but this topic is truly disturbing. The abuse and murder of children is going to come up, and I don't blame anyone who wants to skip the rest of the video. When his initial rituals to summon a demon called Baron didn't work, the alchemist and accomplice of de Rays, François Prelati, suggested they needed to offer the demon parts of dead children, which the French marshal provided. I'm not sure if Prelati knew this, but Gilles de Rays had been killing children for a few years at that point. In his own testimony, he admitted that the first murders took place at his castle of Champtoc-sur-Loire in 1432. He snatched kids, preferably boys, from the street, or rather had them snatched by his cousins. I don't know what Celtic Frost means by buying young souls, but there were parents who claimed their children were lured into de Rays' castle, where they begged for food and were never seen again. Usually, the nobleman put them in fancy clothes and fed them good food and alcohol. He would drink as well to stimulate himself. Then he would break the truth of what's about to happen to the child and enjoy the resulting shock. He would then go on to sexually abuse them, while trying to comfort them with sick lies, before he cut their throat or decapitated them. So sadly, the part about sexual offense in the song is true. He also enjoyed seeing them die slowly and mutilating the bodies after the deed was done. The perversion went so far that he abused the decapitated bodies sexually. Often, this happened in his private chambers, and most of the time he wasn't alone. His cousins and bodyguards were present multiple times, and in some cases even helped out. The mortal remains of the children were burned in the chamber's chimney. With about 140 officially recorded murders, the common folk soon suspected Gilles de Rays was responsible, and so it is a bitter irony that it took a completely unrelated incident to bring him to justice. On the 15th of May 1440, he kidnapped a priest who received a piece of land from his brother that de Rays had given it to originally. This led to an investigation by the Bishop of Nain, which eventually discovered evidence of his cruel deeds. In 2 processes, he was accused of heresy, sodomy, and murder, and admitted to all his crimes on October 21st, receiving absolution from the church. Together with his 2 bodyguards, who were also involved, he was sentenced to death by hanging. 5 days later, the sentence was carried out, and the nobleman requested to go first. His lifeless body was cut down and claimed by 4 noble women, who would go on to bury him. Well, that's what you get for confusing occultism with doing whatever sick thing you want. In the aftermath, the family changed their name from this to this to break with this terrible past. Wow, how do these 2 words sound anything alike? Also, there have been discussions in the recent past claiming that Gilles de Rays was actually innocent, as he supposedly fell victim to the Inquisition himself. I personally find that very hard to believe, especially after de Rays admitted to all of his charges, but I thought I'd mention it for completion. Regarding the name and chorus of the song, most of the murders didn't actually take place in any crypts. Even the demon summoning is said to have happened in the lower halls of the castle, which might just have been a fancy word for wine cellar. Wait, a wine cellar already is pretty fancy. Maybe... oh, never mind. What I'm saying is that the descent into the crypts is best to be seen metaphorical, representing the plummet from a knight in shining armor to a child-murdering lunatic, with the crypts standing for all the death de Rays had caused. But that's just my interpretation. I hope you still like the song, now knowing the horrifying backstory. But I think, especially in cases like this, it's worth knowing what you're banging your head to. If anything, this knowledge should add atmosphere to an already powerful song, which is greatly balanced by Celtic Frost. So, thanks for listening. I gotta say, with the brutality behind the story, I wasn't sure if I should do this song at all, so please, tell me if you liked it. You know how to do that, I'm sure. So, see you next time, and until then, stay true.